Well, greetings there, church. For a minute there, I thought I was going to be able to do this video. I just it's how do I do this? Like I think I'm going to have to flip sides here because it's so dark on this side that let's go this way. There we go. A lot better. I've seen the light here. Okay. There is a God. Okay. Alright, here we are. We are on. Okay. Right. Good deal. I brought my chair down a couple notches to talk to you guys, and I guess I could turn off the light here that's right above my head since now we're dealing with daytime. But I have some update and information that might be invigorating for some of you in the church, and some of you in the community are probably not going to be very happy. But I think you'll understand once I explain what's going on here. I woke up this morning, as I do every morning, assaulted. As you know, I'm the big church complainer about being assaulted by this Haitian woman who is under the Klan that's in Southern California that's been dealing with me for the last for as long as I can remember. Right? They're dealing with me on the issue of subordination. And this morning I woke up, I knew I was hit at least 2 times, just like yesterday and the day before, and I've given you guys videos. I prayed through the morning, and I had completed this last night. It was a list, the Christian faith in the 21st century. And I was told that MacArthur and Franklin came in here, and Melinda and Guy Franklin, they came in here and they wanted to know what information that I had concerning church leadership, because I had John's information, and I'm not a leader. So I started asking Gabriel Franklin some simple questions about God and some simple questions about creation, who made us, who formed us, and she played along and she answered all the questions to affirm that she was a person who knew God. So she didn't need this list. Right? She didn't need this list. And as far as John MacArthur is concerned, I asked her those specific questions so that she could defend herself as a woman and as a person, that she knows that there's a God who made her and who gave us life. And I wanted her to defend the fact that I'm not exactly sure what the leadership is that MacArthur felt that I took out of grace, or what information I took out of grace that solely belongs to him. But one of the things one of the questions that I had asked her is, the church's information, who does it belong to? And I think her answer was, it belongs to the church, and it belongs to the church worldwide. It's not an exclusive piece of information that belongs to John MacArthur and John MacArthur only, right? And so I don't have anything in here that belongs to John, for John to be, coming in here at all hours of the night, prodding this old woman to come in here to suck my penis off, or to jerk me off. There's no reason for this would-be dragon of the Ku Klux Klan, which is what his own daughter calls him, Melinda, that he's a dragon. Whether it's the Duclairon, a gay-on no, or whether he's a literal hood-wearing Klansman who breaks the necks of Negroes and kills and destroys the lives of Africans because they were born that color. I'm not exactly sure what Africans did to the European race to make them feel that way, but I think if the issue is color, Africans are not responsible for their color. God is. It's not their fault that they're dark in complexion. That's God's domain. God is the one that lightens and darkens. God is the one that calls light out of darkness. And so It doesn't mean that I want to go marry an African woman. It just means that give God his respect and his glory, because he's the one, he's the potter, and he takes each lump of clay and he does with it whatever he wishes. And so we shouldn't insult God for what he has done. It's not the Africans that's the issue. It's God that's the issue. And no man has the right to insult him for what he chooses to do with his lump of clay, including European Americans or Europeans from Europe. They don't have nothing to say. They're not better off because they piss and they shit and they die and they stink just like the rest of us nations that are in the world. Even after perfumed, right? And all of us are in the grave right now. So anyway, after talking and praying, I left and went to labor ready for work. Of course, when I walked in, I was told there was no work, and I sat there for a good 15 to half an hour, 25 minutes, and then before I even went, Melinda told me, you're not going to be working. So I knew, but I wanted to check in. Again, at 25 after 9, she told me again, you're going to have to leave because they're not going to give you any work. So from the inside, they tell me in advance, you're not going to work. I can't do anything about it because I don't know what's going on in the establishment on the staff level. So I just took it for granted that I'm not going to be going to work. But I wanted to check in to make sure that, just to make sure. They had one spot open over the weekend, but because I have such ill feelings toward the supervisor there, who through the community represents a Mary Ann, and I don't want to work there. Mary Ann was my mother, and this man he doesn't portray her, but the way they come out to convince you that that's who they are in the community against you, then I felt like I couldn't work for him, so I didn't sign up. About 9:25 or so, some people came in, and the manager decided to come out some crazy way or another. I wasn't sure what the problem was with him. But I think they were trying to push me and another black guy out the door as these Europeans were coming in. And he went and did something, and when I looked around, I was just like, all European. I think that was my conclusion. I said my farewells to the guy I crossed out my name from the list of workers for the day, and I said my farewells for have a good weekend or whatever to the guy behind to this worker behind the desk, and got on the bus. I was angry. I was outraged. I was pissed off at this manager because I felt like he was shooing me out the door, and his flesh came out. The guy is an ultimate racist. This manager is a piece of work. He is a racist to the core, and I hate him. I absolutely hate the man because he is a rotten homosexual and a Klansman, and he discriminates. And and it's so subtle that it gets under my skin, because the guy is a pure one. He's like this. This is him inside and out, no doubt. God is my witness in this. This is him right here. This is his position in the establishment, and mind you, that's probably his position in life, because that's his heart. He's a white-hearted homosexual Klansman. I won't say his name, but I'll tell you that's who he is to me. He can say whatever he wants on video or in his clan or in his job or wherever, but in dealing with me, that's who I believe he is. Okay, and he can change his heart however he wants. Like I said in the last video, his name was on the 12 years of slavery, or 12 years a slave, and so was one of the men that he had sent me to work for at one of the sites. And when I saw that, I just thought, and I saw the two of them on the same film, just like the two of them in the same company, or yeah, I just thought, gee whiz, could it get any better than this, So anyway, I was kind of fed up and pissed off at the situation, and came home, changed my clothes, and headed for the Oregon Bureau of Labor and Industries, because I felt like I needed to ask some serious question about my employment here in this country. So I went, and I sort of felt compelled to do this because I was so pissed off at this man, at the fact that he wasn't. It's not his skin that I have an issue with. It's the fact that he looks like Gabriel Franklin. He's a combination of Gabriel Franklin. He's a combination of the Jews, Gabriel Franklin, and Mark Rodriguez. Mark Rodriguez is an enemy from California, Cal State University Northridge, and the Master's Seminary. He and I were like this from the very beginning. Why? Because he himself was representing Gabriel Franklin in the community. I didn't know that. So this man that I'm dealing with, although he doesn't have the face, but he has the spirit of David Griffin, Mark Rodriguez, I mean, it's like you could feel it, you could feel it, and it's just, and it pisses me off that this is what I'm dealing with here. And so I left quietly, and I had some, and I filled out this paperwork here. This is the paperwork for the civil rights intake, because if that man hadn't been tipped off, or that man hadn't been given information by MacArthur and Franklin, I'm sure my relationship with him would be a whole lot different. And furthermore, I think what Labor Ready did, along with all the other employers that I've worked for, and all of these establishments that I've been dealing with, is these people that are behind this manager are the same people that are behind all of the managers that I've been dealing with. All the people that are, it's like a switch. In other words, if this is, it's almost like if this is the real worker, they switch it with this one, and they keep switching. So all of the time that I'm dealing with these people at the Imago Dei Church, or I'm dealing with them at Labor Ready, or I'm dealing with them at Western Reform, or I'm dealing with them at Gretchen Kafuri, or if I'm dealing with them at Safeway, or I'm dealing with, wherever I'm dealing with them, there is a switch. So I'm dealing with racist people who resemble and who has the face of people from California, from the Master's Seminary, Grace Community Church, and people from New York, out of the Franklin family, and also out of Nanuet High School. So it's a combination, and also Thomas Sullivan and those people that I worked with in Nanuet. So I made my way to that office. I had gone to the office once before, and I told them, look, I've been working, I've been given 30 jobs by Labor Ready, so the issue is not the work, but it's the representation. And the fact that I'm dealing with a community or a government or a clan that's coming out of California and that's coming out of New York, and they're using these people and the establishment as a rod. What do I do? So I fill out the paperwork here, thinking that I'm going to accomplish something, thinking that I'm going to actually, give it to these people, right? Because it's it's a civil rights intake. And of course, I wasn't going to go after the manager per se, because the manager has been charged. The manager has been programmed. And so I wasn't interested in the manager of Labor Ready or the manager or the pastors. What I'm interested in is the people that have been following me from state to state along the West Coast, from city to city and establishment to establishment. And I told this civil rights office that I've taken this to the White House, so it's on the federal government level. And of course, even on their level, nothing was accomplished, right? Nothing was accomplished. Nothing was completed. And so here I am dealing with, these people, and it's not necessarily the establishment itself or the group that's there, but it's the people behind who comes and who brings in information, or they bring in the switch. And so you're not there dealing with the real people, but you're dealing with those who are switched in, and they have all kinds of information of opposition. How do I get those people from the back, or those people that are hidden, dealt with, so that these people in the front and I are not clashing and fighting against each other? And when I first walked in, the first person there behind the desk, the secretary, is sort of like a Barack Obama / Guy Franklin / one of the other managers of Labor Aid, slash I don't know how many other people. And I'm looking at this woman, and she's about yay tall. I didn't know that when she was sitting there, but she was about yay tall. And when she stood up, she was the hit. And I thought, oh God, this is not happening right here in the Civil Rights Intake Office. And she gives me, this was yellow, the copy of this was yellow. And when she hands me the paperwork, I was filling it out, and I got to this one part where it says, what are some examples of that poor treatment? And I started explaining to her the fact that, as soon as you walk into the door, you feel like, the demeanor or the spirit of the not just the manager at this Labor Ready, but anywhere. It's like, get out. We don't want you here. It's like, didn't we deal with you last time you were here at this church? Didn't we deal with you last time you were here at this seminary? Didn't we give it to you last time at this job? Why do you keep coming back? It's like the spirit is sort of like this. Okay, this is the spirit that I'm dealing with here. And then this white woman and this Hispanic guy comes out, but they weren't direct, but they were indirect. And what they communicated indirectly was equivalent to this. So I said, okay, I didn't respond to them. I want to get through this whole process. I don't know what this is. So I wait, and they bring out a woman. I guess her name is Shannon. She's an office specialist or something like that. Anyway, and I'm talking to the woman, and the more I talk to her, the more I'm looking at John MacArthur. The more I'm looking at Tom Sullivan. The more I'm looking at Gabriel Franklin. And the more I look at her face, the more familiar she becomes. And the position that she has in the Civil Rights Intake Office just dwindles out the door and diminishes. Because as soon as I take her face and put it in the community, she's no different than all of the other establishments and all of the other people that I've been dealing with. And of course, her demeanor changes, her spirit changes, and I'm like, here we go again. And she hands me this stack, right, of paperwork. I'm supposed to fill out all of this, right? And all the information that I've given you online, I'm supposed to put it on here. And the 4 divisions are what? The 4 divisions are housing, employment, places of worship, and education. So on all 4 accounts, I've been hit and I've been discriminated against, and not counting the homeless community, and of course places like Safeway, right, who just barred me for a year for no reason, unless they were making reference to something that had happened in Seattle, Washington, when I was homeless and I was being kept homeless on purpose, while they were molesting me and abusing me and doing all sorts of things to me. And I think I might have hit them at Safeway. So they brought it here to this state, and they used it to judge me, I don't know, 4, 5, 10 years later, right? 10 years later. And so I think they're waiting for me to confess on camera so that they can jump on me and use it and basically, I guess, put me in jail for it after they barred me for a year. So they're looking for it because it came out of the mouth of this woman named Shannon, like Safeway, and she was a Tom Sullivan representative who also had accusation. So any little minor detail or any little minor thing I do, now they're taking note of it. But the year in and year out hits that they keep doing this 24/7, 7 days a week for insubordination, there's nobody in the country to take the report. There's nobody in the country to fight for us Africans. It's us that has to fight against these people. But Africans are not united. Africans are divided. Africans are not united as a people and as a race and as a family. Africans are so far divided that they turn on each other. And Europeans have grown in such a mass that Africans cannot leave their homes and their communities and to formulate a group that will fight against this quote-unquote community system. They've never been able to do it, and even now they can't, because now Europeans have the Spanish backing them up, they've got the Asians backing them up, They've got the Filipinos backing them up. They've got the Jews backing them up. They've got other white communities backing them up. And Africans are being pinned against the wall as the enemies. We're not the enemies because our skin is darker. It was God's will to make our skin darker, to reflect the darkness of heaven. To reflect the darkness of heaven. Now, I'm a yellowish skinned person, but my genitals darken. And I often wonder if it was done by the European as a form of judgment rather than as God making me that way. You know, rather than it being a judgment from the Lord to do that, because white women are like, you know, women that are light-skinned, they don't want to deal with men with dark genitals or dark parts. Just like men, when they see women that way, who've got dark vagina, they don't want nothing to do with it because it doesn't look appealing. And so there's something about the darkness that just, you know, we can eat a steak, we can all eat a steak, but for some reason it's just, everybody just, you know, all cringes. I wonder if that's a satanic thing. So in any way, she hands me this packet of things here, and I'm supposed to fill it out and mail it in. And I'm saying, but how do we deal with this community? How do we deal with the community? She says, well, I can't, I need all the information, but the issue is not the information. All of this information is online. All of this information is in the police reports. All of this information is in emails to the White House and the federal government. All of this information is already on the side of the U.S. government, who was supposed to be protecting us and serving us and helping us as Americans. So then what is the point of me filling out this all over again to put it in an office when I'm dealing with the community who's doing this? When I'm dealing with people that are doing this to my life. And if they're doing it to me, what are these African brothers enduring? What are they doing roaming the streets of Portland, Seattle, and Los Angeles, having no jobs, being discriminated and hated against because God chose to make them dark? But yet these heartless white devils, I mean, I've met some good people that I thought were good-natured Europeans, but these people are just white devils. And I'm not talking about just Europeans that are white devils. There are Asians that are white devils. There are Spanish that are white devils. There are people from Indians that are white in their skin, but they are devils. They are so wicked. And they represent who? Gabriel Franklin, John MacArthur, Mark Rogers, the same group out of California, because they are so determined to turn me into a subordinate and so determined in their mind. And of course they can do it because it's all indirect and through the community, right? You're dealing with people who you don't know, and they don't know you, but they have your information and they have the face of your enemy. The first group of people who asked you to subordinate yourself to them, and since you didn't subordinate yourself to them, ooh la la, soon you're in trouble, because now you didn't give your life to the pink-skinned person, right? I want to show you something that's right here on my desktop, and it's from 24-Hour Fitness. You see this rainbow of colors here? You see this right here? This is what God has done with the rainbow in the sky. And this is what God has done with humanity. Apart from the blue there and the green, right? You have people of all of these colors. Apart from the blue there, right, and the green, all the rest of it, God has made all of these colors. We would say that this is the color of shit. But I've seen shit where it's also yellow, right? This would be the color of what? The skin of, the color of blood, perhaps. The pink there is the color of chicken or pigs. The orange, I mean, all of these are different colors of people, apart from the green and apart from the blue, right? And God is the maker of it all. So who's to say which one is better and which one is worse, right? But anyway, after I interviewed with this one woman who gave me the stack, and of course I left her, and she left me pissed off at the fact that, you know, it's almost like fill that out and give it to us and we'll investigate. But I go, it's not going to accomplish anything. It's not going to resolve anything if I hand it in, because it's not, I'm not after Labor Ready and its management. I'm not after the employers. I'm not after the managers of Gretchen Kafori or the pastors of, I'm after the people who put the representatives there. I'm after that community or that group who keeps putting those people there with my information to oppose me to my face. I'm after the one who opens the door for Gabriel Franklin to come into my home. I'm after the one who turns on the sleeping gas for me to be knocked out and to fall asleep so she could come in, or anybody can come in. It doesn't have to be her. It doesn't have to be her at all. It could be any Tom, Dick, Harry. It could be any mom. They could have had a dog lick my penis, and I wouldn't have known it, and suck on it, or do the things that they're doing. They could have had an animal, use my flesh. I wouldn't do it. Bestiality. How do I know? People are capable of doing any kind of wicked and evil thing in this country. They could have had a snake wrapped around me, squeezed the life out of me. I think they might have done that in Tacoma, Washington, and I wouldn't have even known it. To put a snake around my neck, or to put a snake around my body to squeeze me so I could feel it, right? People are capable of doing all sorts of things. They could have beaten me when I was asleep, but I'm behind, and John MacArthur has basically revealed to me, his true nature through this entire process. And I told that office that that's who I'm after. I'm after the dragon, or the man that has inspired so many people to come out against me for the submission through the community. I'm not after the manager who has an attitude. They've put that attitude there. They put that pissed off spirit there. And God only knows what they've done to him as a Jew, right? And so I hand this to them, and of course right behind there is it says protected classes in employment in the state of Oregon: race, color, nationality, sex, sexual orientation, gender, injured worker status, religion, retaliation for engaging in protest, mental disability, marital status, family, the whole list. Apart from veterans and let's see here, all of it. I've been dealt with, all of it, indirectly through their community. They dealt with me on the whole list. I mean, look, check out that list. Right? This is the list, right? They dealt with the whole thing. So then they went, and I said, well, I have some questions, right? I have some questions that I want to ask. I have some concerns about my job, my work, my place of employment. And I said to them, what role does homosexuality play in the workplace? Right? What role because they've come out. What role does African subjugation play in the role of the workplace? And not just the workplace, but in my apartment complex, but in my school, but in my churching. And why am I making it public? Because this is the reason why I'm in this situation. It is because of this thing that these people have done. It wasn't my will. This is what they're doing. And I asked, number 3, what is to be my response when the employer resembles or assumes the position of an enemy? You walk into a place of employment, and they switch it to your enemy. They switch it to your enemy, the very people that are chasing after you, because those people are being protected by a system or a government, right? Or a government office. What is to be my response? And then I didn't ask the rest of the questions, but some of the questions that I had is, am I to quit my job if the employer projects violence in the workplace in the spirit? If the employer projects violence in the workplace in the spirit, am I supposed to quit my job as a result of it? Right? You're working for somebody and they come over and bam, bam, bam. But they do it in the spirit. And you can feel the violence. You can feel the resistance and the rejection and the hatred. Number 5, I asked, what if I suspect conspiracy? What if I suspect conspiracy in the workplace? Number 6, what do I do if all the job sites are being plagued with the influence of a stalker from job site to job site? What do you do? That was another question that I had for the Civil Rights Office, but they were in such a hurry this morning and they had so much to do. Oh, and they sent me a Hispanic to speak to, because I had these questions that I wanted to ask. And the Hispanic, same thing as the white female that they sent me, the first one, the Hispanic, the more I looked at her face, I saw my mom slightly. She was just like the first one. We can't help you. There's nothing we can do for you. I'm sorry. And I thought, okay, I guess I'm not going to ever resolve this thing then with the community, I explained the same thing to her. It's like it's not initially the job itself, but it's these people from the community. Is there an office that deals with this community? Is there an office that deals with this thing here that these people have done and are doing, right? I saw Sullivan, I saw John MacArthur, I saw the New York Police Department, Haitians, Barack, the Spanish, and I'm looking at, and in just a few people, I was looking at the faces of all of these people, the very people that I came to bring accusation against and to protest against were the ones who are coming forward as specialists in this office, in this civil rights office. How do you fight this system of dealing with lookalikes? How do you fight this system? So now I have this stack of paperwork I'm supposed to fill out, but who's going to respond to this? When their office has the same system, the same representation system, the same community representatives. And it's almost like what happened to the person that was taken home by their mother 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago in the baby basket? What happened to that real human being? Now you got to deal with a person who reads, right? A person who reads. So I wanted to ask, if I am positive and cannot hold a full-time job because of how it feels to the people, are there other options? But I never got to ask that question. I feel threatened by workers who resemble a Haitian family that I've been dealing with. The gay clan slave community gives them the opposition. What can I do about it? What can I do about this matter? Okay, what can I do about this matter? I feel threatened by the workers who resemble Haitian family member, or a Haitian family that I've been dealing with through the gay clan community. I call it the gay clan slave community. When they're given the opposition, what can I do about it? You go and work somewhere and you're looking at somebody's face and you know who they represent or you know who they look like, but they're your enemy. And yet what's inside of them is opposition to prevent you from doing your job, to piss you off, to cause you to stumble, right? This is the community, the group. So somebody is in an office somewhere, making these executive decisions as to how do we get rid of this Haitian called Kevin Duclairon? How do we oust him out of our American society? How do we deal with him outside of the church? How do we force him to leave? How do we make him get out of here because he's not subjecting himself to us? He's not raising us up and putting us above him. He's not letting us rule above him. Instead, he's putting himself as an equal. And we're a gay clan, right? So number 9, I said, I just recently watched the movie 12 Years a Slave. The manager of the job of my job, his name is in there as a plantation owner, and the face of one of the job site managers was also in the movie. When I went into the work today, that evil clan spirit of separatism returned on the manager. I felt as if he should. He basically shooed me out of the door, and even on the television they told me to get. What is the proper response of EEOC, right? So both the management and on this commercial, this cancer commercial, it was made obvious that I need to get out of here. We don't want it. What is supposed to be my response? I never got to ask that question either. Number 10, I said, I believe there is slavery in the workplace. Workers may not be getting paid their entire amount, or someone some may be even getting, some are getting shortened in their pay, right? That was more of a statement than it is a question. Number 11, what does it mean to take the hit for another worker? Number 12, what do you do when your food has been sabotaged by workers? Number 13, I work for an employer, not a master, right? He makes me feel like he's a master, not an employer, to overpower me. He has an overbearing spirit. What can I do about that? Number 14, I was kicked. I was kicked once and felt the pain. I was later asked by another worker if it was an assault. I said no. He was just simply waking me up. When do I take offense at being touched and being hit and call it an assault? Number 15, what do I do about the spirit of competition? What do I do about the spirit of competition in another worker toward me? What do I do about the management nudging me to quit, but I need a job, right? What do I do about the division between the community and the employer, right? The people you work for and the community constantly always beckoning sex or subjugation or submission, right there in the workplace. Number 18, what about me getting snaked on the job, right? Me being snaked. They give it to me in passing. What is the proper response to that? When it wasn't literally somebody coming and putting it on you, but they put it in the area where you are working. You know? What do I do about one clan leader using the job, the home, any place that I go to as a rod to judge me? Right? They use as a rod to judge me. I'll give you an example in a minute. And lastly, what do you do with the employer who on purpose emphasizes white supremacy, but they do it subtly, right? Subtly. Or the workers do it subtly. They don't do it directly, but subtly they do it, just to let you know and to remind you that you're the subordinate. And what do you do about the switching staff? When they switch staff, when instead of dealing with you, they switch the staff so that they can deal against you indirectly. And it's not just one, but it's a team of people. It's a group that does this. And they follow you, and then they pass it on to the next person. And then before you know it, it's a whole community and a county that's doing it. Right? King County did it, Oklahoma County did it, San Diego County did it. If I go back to New York, they're going to do it too. So, you know, this is about as much of a report as I gave to them. And this is what I was willing at first to fill out. But it's not going to accomplish anything because the very workers that were given to me were what? Were the community. It was the community again. So I went from community to community to community. Same group everywhere, right? Judging me as an African, judging me to submit, not because I committed a crime, but some of the things that they have done would have forced me to become a criminal and would have forced me to do what? You know, to do some of the things that African Americans are known to do. Why? Because of situations like this. Because of situations like this. Right before I left Labor Ready this morning, I took this paperwork out as a reminder to them, to the community, that, you know, you may be white and you may have all of your, what you consider ducks in a row, but God still has one up on you, right? The Lord still has one up on you. He can take you out of the community, right? I have a cup. I want to show you something. I have a cup with this name on it, right? The Eunice cup. I want to show it to you. It's a teacup. Last night I was on the bus and I was hit by this Klansman, Just a light tap. And he sat behind me, right? My response was, I'm going to go home and have a cup of tea and 2 cookies. This morning I come and I find Eunice. Here's Eunice. See? Here's the obituaries. Here's the first unit in the newspaper, and here's the second unit. Okay? It has nothing to do with the woman in the picture. It has nothing to do with her. It just has to do with the name right here. And I just thought, how peculiar. I mean, could you be any more exact? Right? So, as soon as I walk out of the building, Melinda tells me, oh, Kevin, you need to go and get something to eat. I said, okay. She says, well, why don't you go to McDonald's? And she says, well, you better spend some of that money that's in your savings account, right? Because they're giving it to her, and she's giving it to me. And I thought, well, I wanted to save that money for a rainy day because I don't work every day. I don't make much. Since this month is still my birthday, I went over to Safeway and bought a cake, right? And of course, I asked them to use yellow cream, and I asked them to use blue, red, whatever, that red dye to write out Happy 44th Birthday, Kevin. So instead of giving it to me in the colors that I've asked for, the yellow or the red, they gave it to me in the color of blue. This blue right here, right? That blue, the history of that blue is death. In 2009, when Michael Jackson had died, they went after my life, and they also went after, as a community, they went after my life, and they also went after my vehicle, my Ford Escort. They completely smashed in. If you look on my site, my iPage site, if you look, they completely smashed in the back of the left side, the driver's side of the car. It was completely just gone. And because of that, the car was towed and removed from me. And ever since then, because the color of the car was the same as, it was a sky blue color, they've used this color to give me warnings of death. I've seen the management at that place wear that color as a warning. I've seen civilians in the streets, and they're bold too. They're bold to they'll stand right in front of you. It's like, you better be careful. And I'm thinking, do these people have any fear of God whatsoever? Do these people even think about the fact that God has the very heart inside of their bodies? Are these people even aware that every breath they take and the oxygen that is roaming through their lungs is put there by God? The thought of the Lord is not even on their mind. But yet, Safeway, because of its, I guess, prejudices, hates, whatever, against me because of the incident that took place in Seattle, as if the United States of America is not a stolen country. As if the land and the food that these people have been bringing into their stores is not stolen food or stolen land. I mean, here I am being accused and judged for decades on something that happened in another state. But yet, the very soil that we stand on is stolen soil. By the blood of Native Americans and the blood of Africans and the blood of Europeans, right? Somebody had to bleed for it to be the country that it is today. So it's like, here they are as a store judging me, and I'm thinking, how hypocritical. The land that you're building is on is stolen land. The food is stolen food from these original people. You spilled their blood to use it. You built your families on it. And now you're going to criticize and accuse me, under your breath and insult me when you yourselves are not clean on this level? So anyway, instead of giving me what I asked for, they gave me the opposite, which is what they had done a year ago when I was trying to use my card to buy food in their store. That's up here on 10th in Columbia. When I went in there to buy food, they wouldn't allow the card to pay for the food, and they judged me. And it was, I think that might have been the same night where they took my telephone. So all of that, and I walked away thinking, my God, These people have not changed one bit. These people have not repented of anything. The 12-year slave is now. Not yesterday in 1841. It's here today in the 21st century. So that if this is what I'm dealing with on this level, Americans, Europeans, Spanish, Asian, Christians, what is Barack Obama really dealing with? What is he and his wife not telling us about the maltreatment that they're getting from this race, this community, these wicked people? Or are they the ones leading the pack? Because I don't understand, just minor offenses. Over the course of time, minor offenses gradually. They went, talk about insult, right? I just went in there to deal with this. For not just labor ready, but for 4 establishments, right? And they gave me, I just went in there for this, and here's 4 stacks of paperwork. And I go into this establishment, and it's almost like, did I forget an application? Did I forget an application? You understand what I'm saying? Now it's even in the food places. So it's in the home, it's in the work, it's in the church, it's in the education system, and now it's even in the place where you buy food. How are these African people ever going to make it if this is how you treat them? How are people from other nations ever going to make it if this is your spirit toward them? You are supposed to be, I'm disgusted. The United Nations know about this. And the United Nations participate in this. You cannot be serious and think you live in a world where this is how it's going to be 24/7, 7 days a week. And everybody else is going to subjugate themselves to you. You have to understand, the world is made up of how many? How many different nations and how many tribes? You can't be serious to think that you're going to live in this kind of a world and what? And what about the rest of us? What about the rest of these colors of the rainbow? What about the rest of us who are not of your skin tone? You're gonna when we ask you to do something, we're gonna pay money for it. You're not gonna give us what we asked for. You're supposed to be adults here. Why are you acting like spoiled children? Spoiled children who basically took the loot of somebody else's property, and now you want to declare yourself boss, king of the hill, king of the mountain. You understand what I'm saying? Well, what's up with your people and your race? What's going on here? It's like, can you ever get over your color? Can you ever get over your skin? Can you ever get over your eyes? I'm on a bus today, and a female, is talking, and she's making me feel it like, oh my God, I'm so afraid because they're after me. No, that's not us. That's you. It's almost like you want us to come after you. You want us to desire you. That's why you take it all off. So you can sit there and bitch and moan and complain about the fact that we're after you. We're not after you. We're not chasing you. When I put on one of these faggot movies or one of these you being boned movies, it's not because I want it. It's because you won't stop gassing the apartment and putting me to sleep so that you can bring that Haitian woman into my room to assault me so that I don't study the Word of God, so that I don't read the Scriptures. I do more talking than I do studying. I do more talking than I do preaching. I do more talking in here defending my faith than anything else. Right? You tell me that I'm not a church leader. I know what the responsibilities of church leadership is. Right? Our job is to pray and to preach, to read and to teach, to study and to maintain a quiet time. We have a responsibility to disciple others, right? To practice the faith. We have a responsibility to plan and to trust, to write letters and books and articles, to seek God's will in all things, to live in the context of Scripture, to obey Scripture, to put our pain and our suffering on God. We and so on and so forth. We have a responsibility. But man, you people are just, in this community of yours, you are determined to keep Christians and Africans from living their lives. You are determined to keep us living in sin like you. But yet God in His mercy says you need to repent of that. We don't have an obligation to you sexually. We don't have an obligation to you and to subjugate ourselves to you. You need to repent of that. You need to put that away and stop persecuting the church of God. I want to do this in front of you because I don't know what poison might be in this cake. I don't trust any establishment. I don't trust any store, because if people could be this proud and this arrogant in giving me the very opposite of what I've asked for, I want to know what's in this cake. I want to know if it was switched. I want to know if it's been poisoned. I want to know what's in this cake. I'll let you know. I'm taking a piece right now, and I want to try it right in front of you. So if I drop dead, right, whoever finds this video, maybe they'll upload it, and before my funeral, and people will know that I've eaten poisoned food, right? People will know that I've eaten poisoned food. So I've cut myself a piece here. I'm not going to sing happy birthday, but I've cut myself a piece here. It's a chocolate cake. I didn't know that. And let's try it. I guess it tastes okay. Well, I haven't died yet, so okay, I guess that wasn't too bad. If you hear that I passed away, well, there you go. I don't know. But it tastes pretty good. Not too bad. I would have preferred the yellow, but I got the blue. And as long as it doesn't kill me, I guess the food is just fine. If anything, there might even be laxative in here. Huh? There might even be laxative in there. That's how they're dealing with me on the issue of subordination. The rest of you brothers who are out there in the Christian faith, and the rest of you black brothers out there, may God have mercy on you, and may God strengthen you, because you know what? In my time, they want me gone. They want me gone. They want me finished. And they want me bye-bye, and for me, not without a fight, not necessarily a physical fight, but not without a fight for my life. I can't just hand you my life on a platter and just say, okay, you can treat me however you want because you're richer and you're older and you're more beautiful than I am. It doesn't work that way. We are all the images of God, and God has a right to do with his pound of clay what he chooses. He has a right to add to them, and to, if I gave you a pound of clay, what would you do with it? If I took a whole lot of clay and put it on your desk at home and tell you, okay, you need to do something with this, formulate, what kind of spirit would you give? What would you have made, first of all, with the clay? What kind of spirit would you put in it? What kind of face would you put on it? What kind of color would you put on it? What would be the inside like? You see how difficult it gets So then how could you sit there and criticize a people because of their skin tone when you don't even know what's on the inside? And though you may know what's on the inside from a doctor's point of view, yet you have no control over any of it. So you shouldn't be so critical and cut folks down, right? The way you do as a community.